the handle itself. Fishing and casting with it. Yeah, it's not a sponsored advert, this one. We did take a look at the Surfblaster. This is the 8000 by Penn, Surfblaster 2. And we had a look at it initially, but this is more of a long-term test. I've been using it all over the winter. And it's a brilliant reel. It's absolutely fantastic, and I definitely recommend it. I'm now using 50-pound braid on it. And the braid is the way to go with these, I think. Obviously, I've paired that there with that Continental rod. And there are advantages and disadvantages to braid, but I think the advantages here really do outweigh the negatives. Braid's got a relatively lower diameter than mono, as bite indication is improved. Also cuts through the tide as well, the braid. It's stronger, it's tougher than mono. In favour of the mono, that's on the one below there. It does have that stretch, and that can provide a bit of a safety barrier if you're... it can sort of float a little bit better than braid, so it can keep above some snags. Of course, you can't use the braid on a multiplier reel, and you're limited in the types of colours as well. Probably the main one for a lot of us is mono is a lot cheaper than braid. So take your pick. There certainly are some pros and cons, and we'll look at that in more depth in another video. Cosmetically, it's obviously got a few scrapes and scratches. Most of that's my fault. I was having a look at that little bolt that holds on the whole spool assembly there. That normally wears away, or that will become loose on a lot of fixed spool reels over time, but that's been faultless. It holds it down, clamps it down really tight, so that part of the reel is absolutely fine. And the same with the actual nut as well, so you can see how that works. The bolt is on that little piece and it clamps everything down. The only very minor thing would be a little bit of rusting on that washer there, but again, that's probably got more to do with me not looking after the reel properly. And the spool spindle has no play. Of course, at the price point, £80–90, there are a lot of beach casting fixed spool reels on the market to rival this Penn 8000. And I've got a favour to ask. I'd love to know what you're using actually on the beach. What fixed spool do you use? It'd be great to know in the comments below how you rate it, or even if you're using the Surfblaster itself. And then you've got this little washer here, and the plastic bit that sits on the top of that, I think would probably be the weak point, but there's no wear or anything or even play in that at all. It just locks on top of that washer. That's been fine. On the side of the reel as well, you can see where I've scraped it, and I think the actual finish is maybe not that brilliant, but who cares. If I was really picking holes, I'd say that like the trim bits of it, easy to scratch, especially my clumsy hands. So the handle, everything works well, that runs true. The spool doesn't oscillate in the wrong sort of way, and then the spool itself, no damage at all to this. I've had loads and loads of retrieve, loads of casting practice, not too many big fish landed, but that's just from where the drag sits onto the top of the spool, so it's like a soft rubber, and that's worked really well. But again, that doesn't affect anything. I could probably have given the reel a bit of a clean up. So all in all, I really do recommend this reel. Stood the test of time. Only had sort of 6 months good use out of it, but even so, it's been to the beach quite a bit. I really enjoy it, and so if you are thinking of getting one, I would recommend one of these reels. Not quite sure how good it would be deep rock fishing over those marks, where you're playing fish over deeper water, over rocks and stuff like that. You can probably see where I am there fishing the day out at Dungeness recently, and actually that's where the braid came into its own. It was just so much easier to cast than mono, and I had a couple of reels that day, and those, one with mono and one with braid, and the braid was just so much more enjoyable from the beach down at Dungeness. this tip actually the other day. Just get a hairband and put it over the spool when you're transporting your reel. And if you've got any comments about this reel, if you've used it, then do let us know. Or if you use something similar sort of price range, it'd be great for you to let me know and let everyone that's watching know as well. We want to try and get some good ideas about good beach casting reels.